Letter 10 of Silence Dogood Letters. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Patty Cunningham. Silence Dogood number 10 by Benjamin Franklin, posted on August 13th, 1722. Optime societas hominum servabitur. Cicero. To the author of the New-England Courant. Sir, discoursing lately with an intimate friend of mine of the lamentable condition of widows, he put into my hands a book, wherein the ingenious author proposes, I think, a certain method for their relief. I have often thought of some such project for their benefit myself, and intended to communicate my thoughts to the public, but to prefer my own proposals to what follows would be rather an argument of vanity in me than good will to the many hundreds of my fellow sufferers now in New England. We have, says he, abundance of women who have been bred well and lived well, ruined in a few years, and perhaps left young with a houseful of children and nothing to support them, which falls generally upon the wives of the inferior clergy, or of shopkeepers and artificers. They marry wives with perhaps £300 to £1,000 portion, and can settle no jointure upon them. Either they are extravagant and idle and waste it, or trade decays or losses, or 1,000 contingencies happen to bring a tradesman to poverty, and he breaks. The poor young woman, it may be, has 3 or 4 children, and is driven to 1,000 shifts, while he lies in the mint or the friars under the dilemma of a statute of bankrupt. But if he dies, then she is absolutely undone, unless she has friends to go to. Suppose an office to be erected, to be called an Office of Insurance for Widows, upon the following conditions. 2,000 women, or their husbands for them, enter their names into a register to be kept for that purpose, with the names, age, and trade of their husbands, with the place of their abode, paying at the time of their entering 5 shillings down, with 1 shilling 4d. per quarter, which is to the setting up and support of an office with clerks and all proper officers for the same, for there is no maintaining such without charge. They receive every one of them a certificate, sealed by the secretary of the office, and signed by the governors, for the articles hereafter mentioned. If any one of the women becomes a widow at any time after 6 months from the date of her subscription, upon due notice given and claim made at the office in form, as shall be directed, she shall receive within 6 months after such claim made, the sum of £500 in money, without any deductions, saving some small fees to the officers, which the trustees must settle, that they may be known. In consideration of this, every woman so subscribing obliges herself to pay as often as any member of the society becomes a widow, the due proportion or share allotted to her to pay towards the £500 for the said widow, provided her share does not exceed the sum of 5 shillings. No seamen or soldiers' wives to be accepted into such a proposal as this, on the account before mentioned, because the contingencies of their lives are not equal to others, unless they will admit this general exception, supposing they do not die out of the kingdom. It might also be an exception, that if the widow that claimed had really bona fide left her by her husband to her own use, clear of all debts and legacies, £2,000, she should have no claim. The intent being to aid the poor, not add to the rich. But there lies a great many objections against such an article, as 1. It may tempt some to forswear themselves. 2. People will order their wills so as to defraud the exception. One exception must be made, that is, either very unequal matches, as when a woman of 19 marries an old man of 70, or women who have infirm husbands, I mean known and publicly so. To remedy which, 2 things are to be done. 1. The office must have moving officers without doors, who shall inform themselves of such matters, and if any such circumstances appear, the office should have 14 days' time to return their money, and declare their subscriptions void. 2. No woman whose husband had any visible distemper should claim under a year after her subscription. One grand objection against this proposal is, how you will oblige people to pay either their subscription or their quarterage. To this I answer, by no compulsion, though that might be performed too, but altogether voluntary, only with this argument to move it, that if they do not continue their payments, they lose the benefit of their past contributions. I know it lies as a fair objection against such a project as this, that the number of claims are so uncertain, that nobody knows what they engage in when they subscribe, for so many may die annually out of 2,000 as may perhaps make my payment 20 or 25 pounds per annum. And if a woman happen to pay that for 20 years, though she receives the 500 pounds at last, she is a great loser. But if she dies before her husband, she has lessened his estate considerably, and brought a great loss upon him. First, I say to this, that I would have such a proposal as this be so fair and easy, that if any person who had subscribed found the payments too high, and the claims fall too often, it should be at their liberty at any time, upon notice given, to be released and stand obliged no longer. And if so, volenti non fit injuria, every one knows best what their own circumstances will bear. In the next place, because death is a contingency no man can directly calculate, and all that subscribe must take the hazard, yet that a prejudice against this notion may not be built on wrong grounds, let's examine a little the probable hazard, and see how many shall die annually out of 2,000 subscribers, accounting by the common proportion of burials to the number of the living. Sir William Petty, in his Political Arithmetic, by a very ingenious calculation, brings the account of burial in London to be 1 in 40 annually, and proves it by all the proper rules of proportion computation. And I'll take my scheme from thence. If then 1 in 40 of all the people in England should die, that supposes 50 to die every year out of our 2,000 subscribers. And for a woman to contribute 5 shillings to every one would certainly be to agree to pay 12 pounds 10 shillings per annum upon her husband's life, to receive 500 pounds when he died, and lose it if she died first. And yet this would not be a hazard beyond reason too great for the gain. But I shall offer some reasons to prove this to be impossible in our case. First, Sir William Petty allows the city of London to contain about 1 million of people, and our yearly bill of mortality never yet amounted to 25,000 in the most sickly years we have had, plague years excepted, sometimes but to 20,000, which is but 1 in 50. Now it is to be considered here, that children and ancient people make up, one time with another, at least 1/3 of our bills of mortality. And our assurances lies upon none but the middling age of the people, which is the only age wherein life is anything steady. And if that be allowed, there cannot die by his computation above 1 in 80 of such people every year. But because I would be sure to leave room for casualty, I'll allow 1 in 50 shall die out of our number subscribed. Secondly, it must be allowed, that our payments falling due only on the death of husbands, this 1 in 50 must not be reckoned upon the 2,000, for 'tis to be supposed at least as many women shall die as men, and then there is nothing to pay. So that 1 in 50 upon 1,000 is the most that I can suppose shall claim the contribution in a year, which is 20 claims a year at 5 shillings each, and is 5 pounds per annum. And if a woman pays this for 20 year, and claims at last, she is gainer enough, and no extraordinary loser if she never claims at all. And I verily believe any office might undertake to demand at all adventures not above 6 pounds per annum, and secure the subscriber 500 pounds in case she come to claim as a widow. I would leave this to the consideration of all who are concerned for their own or their neighbours' temporal happiness. And I am humbly of opinion that the country is ripe for many such friendly societies, whereby every man might help another without any disservice to himself. We have many charitable gentlemen who yearly give liberally to the poor, and where can they better bestow their charity than on those who become so by Providence, and for aught they know on themselves? But above all, The clergy have most need of coming into some such project as this. They, as well as poor men, according to the proverb, generally abound in children; and how many clergymen in the country are forced to labor in their fields to keep themselves in a condition above want? How then shall they be able to leave anything to their forsaken, dejected, and almost forgotten wives and children? For my own part, I have nothing left to live on but contentment and a few cows; and though I cannot expect to be relieved by this project, yet it would be no small satisfaction to me to see it put in practice for the benefit of others. I am, Sir, etc., Silence Dogood. The New England Courant, August 13th, 1722. End of Letter 10.